What's up friends, Paul here, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite productivity apps, Sunsama. It's a daily planner that'll help you stay more organized and focused, and I'm just a super fan of this app, so if you're ready, let's dive in. If at any point you want to try Sunsama, please check the description for my affiliate link, which will give you a free 30-day trial. Typically, I think they offer a 14-day free trial, so I think the 30 days will give you enough time to test it out for yourself and see if it's a good fit for you. Perhaps you're like me and you spend way too much time researching the best tool instead of actually doing the work. I've tried many different productivity apps, and this one is one of my favorites. I've actually reviewed Sunsama on my main channel before, but I wanted to update it and share with you some of the new exciting features that they're offering, including a focus bar, a Pomodoro timer, so be sure to stick around. If you want to check out that other video, I'll be sure to leave a link in the description. Full disclosure, Sunsama has given me the app to use for free. However, the thoughts that I share in this video will be my own. If you're ready to dive in, let's check out the app. Before we dive into Sunsama, I want to share 3 criteria that I look for when looking at productivity apps. One is the UI UX design. Basically, that means the user interface, the user experience. And to me, something that's so important is it easy to navigate? Is it easy to use? Because what I found from my own personal experience, if it's something that you don't enjoy using or you get frustrated with, you're not likely to implement it into your day-to-day experience. And so that to me is something that is very important. Next is the underlying philosophy or system of this productivity app. I find that the best apps usually have a system that they follow or a process for guiding the user in their experience of the app. And it's not just merely like, here's an app that can do 20 different things, good luck. It's like, this is the best practices to get the most out of this productivity tool. And I think Sunsama is a great example of that, and we'll dive into that further. And then lastly, is the price right? Because there's no use getting a productivity tool that's too expensive for your budget. And so we'll dive into those elements. So if you're ready, here is Sunsama. As you'll notice, it's a very clean, minimalistic design. Currently, we're in the dark mode. If you want to see the light mode, I have that in my previous video. Basically, you have 2 main sidebars. On this side, you have like a calendar, a month calendar that you can quickly toggle between to see the different dates as well as the different channels. And channels are kind of like Slack if you think about it. So if you might have a project or certain areas that you want to track so that you can get more detailed reporting, that's what I would recommend using those for. For example, I've got my YouTube channel and then I've got my TBM show. And what you can do is you can actually click on that, and then all of a sudden you just see that one element. Or for example, maybe I just want to see all of the business, then that would do that as well. So it just makes it really simple for you to get focused on what really matters. On the other side, this sidebar is also very useful. You have your calendar. As you can see, I don't really have anything blocked off, and I'll show you how to schedule your tasks on your calendar, as well as integration. So you'll notice that I've got my ClickUp integration, so I can easily pull in tasks from this integration. So all I need to do is click, drag, and then all of a sudden I can drop it in there, and it's now one of my tasks to do. And then I can set like how much time I think it's going to take. Maybe that's actually personal. And so now I've got that all set. The next thing is weekly objectives. What are the things I'm trying to accomplish in this week? And so one of them is publishing this podcast episode. And so you'll see that it's actually in progress. You got the time estimated and how much is being spent. So that's really neat, as well as archived. So basically what happens is that you can put like kind of like this backlog. So like maybe let's say find the meaning of life. I really just don't have the time for it. I can just move it to backlog by clicking here, or I can use the shortcut Z. So I love shortcuts, so we'll use the command Z. So I'll just put my mouse over this to do and hit Z, and now it is in my backlog. And you can also filter by the channel that it's on. Next up, we have the archive. And what I love about it is it has this auto archive feature so that if, let's say, something isn't done within a certain period of time, it automatically archives, because let's be real, if you haven't touched it in 4 days or 7 days or however many you want, you're not likely to use it, not likely to get to it anytime soon. And then what I love is they also share with you the latest updates that they've been working on. They typically do weekly updates, which is fantastic, of different things that they've added, some things that they fixed, some things that they've improved. They're constantly improving this application to make it the best productivity app. And I think they're doing an amazing job. As you'll notice, again, you have ClickUp here, but that's not the only integration that they have. You can easily bring in a few others. GitHub, we have Jira, however you say that, Trello, Asana, Todoist. You can even bring in your Gmail, Notion, Outlook, Linear, and good old Monday.com. And I believe this list has been growing a little bit since the last review. I think there's at least 1 or 2, 3 maybe that are new to this. So they're definitely continually adding some integrations. And of course, again, ClickUp is an option as well. Oh, and so this is neat. As you'll notice, the bell just rang. So let me show you this. So this is the focus mode. And you'll see that basically it just rang because I'm now 5 minutes away from my deadline of 30 minutes. And so that's just telling me that kind of be aware, maybe wrap things up. And so it's super helpful to get that, as well as they have the Pomodoro feature, which I'll hopefully be able to show you in just a second. Let me see if I can trigger this a little bit early so you can see it. As soon it'll pop up over here, and I can show you what it looks like with a new Pomodoro. This is a new feature that they've added. I'm super excited that they introduced this. So for any of those that love the Pomodoro technique, this is a great way to do it. And basically anytime that you're on a break, it doesn't count that towards your time, which is super helpful. And at any point, you can actually do it yourself, take a break. Well, that's working out. So you can also toggle the view. Currently, this is showing the overall time to the time estimated, but I can go here and I can show the Pomodoro counting down to the remaining time. And I can switch back to the default timer, lower the amount of time, subtract 5 minutes. And then if you hover over by this pause button, you can take a break. You can finish the task if you're done. I believe that hides the focus bar. I don't know if you'd want to do that, but basically this focus bar, you can click and drag it around. You can have it above, it automatically is above all different apps. So you can easily see it. It's very helpful. You can also change the settings. So this is the focus bar settings. You can turn it on and off. You can enable timer sounds. They've got different sounds available. They got a different sound that you can select for the Pomodoro sounds. You can, I guess, hear the difference between the two. You can set how loud it is, when to trigger the reminder. And you can say when to enter the focus mode. I love the focus mode because then all of a sudden you can eliminate distractions. Let's quickly go back to that focus mode actually, because as you see here, you only see your task. And this is actually the notes that you can make on a task. So if you see here, I even demonstrate like a to-do list, a quote, a block of a code block. And this is like a heading. And I believe it's Markdown. So if I do like hashtag, it's like a H3 header. And if I do like 2 hashtags, this is a H2 header, and so forth and so on. You can add comments. It's just super helpful. So if we go back to add a task, all you have to do is hit A, and then it brings up this quick little thing that you can jot down. Call Bruce Wayne. Okay. And that's going to be today. And I believe there's a way to add elements. Yeah, if I put hashtag, you can do, let's do that's personal brand. I'm going to ask them some important questions. You can estimate the amount of time, say 30 minutes, and you can align it with an objective. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a new objective. I guess I can't create it. It can't add it here, but let's create this and I'll show you how to create an objective from here. So to align with the weekly objective. So again, here are your weekly objectives. You can easily add them and check them off. Let's say I had my gardening lessons with Groot on Monday. I can check that off and you can see this nice progress bar. I love the progress bar on the top. As you'll notice here, there's a time here, and that's basically your total time remaining. If you click that, you can toggle through and you can see how much time you spent on these tasks that you've allotted time for. This is the time estimates, and this is the time spent. If I click it again, work time remaining. So let's say this was actually a personal thing. Then it drops down to 3 minutes. Okay, so this just clicked. So we just hit the timer, but then let's wait for the Pomodoro timer to finish. So then it pops at this and it's like, are you ready for a break? Yes, in 5 minutes, or I'm okay, let's keep going. And so as you'll notice, there's also this progress bar. I believe if you don't do anything, it just continues the timer. So that's kind of convenient if you don't want to interrupt your work to click one of these. But let's say, yeah, well, we're ready for a break. Then it'll start the break automatically. It pauses the timer. And that's really convenient. So these are like two big new features that they added. Again, are the Pomodoro timer, the focus bar. And so it just makes it really convenient. So to schedule a thing on your calendar, all you have to do is press X on your keyboard, and that will automatically schedule the task in like the available time slot. So I'm going to do that right now. And you'll notice that it just set it right there. And I can easily drag and drop it. So let's say, I just wanted to do daily check-in ran there. Client YouTube management. And so like what I can do here, let's say, something happened and I need to move it later. All of a sudden it automatically reschedules. 2 tasks auto rescheduled, and you can undo that if you need to. But it's really convenient. And you'll notice that I believe it has like these predefined gaps that you can change within the settings, which is super helpful. But one of the things that sets Sunsama apart is like the process that, again, like it's like a system and process that it has you go through when you're planning out your day, when you're planning out your week. And so I'm going to show you a little bit of that. So every day it asks you to plan, and normally it comes up automatically. But for the sake of showing you this, we're going to go into it. So this is like planning it out. So you can look at your objectives, your ClickUp, your calendar, and you can bring tasks from your calendar into your to-do list. Typically, it asks you that on the side, and you can check any of those boxes. Sometimes you can set it to automatically import. Just depends on what you want to do. So let's say I wanted to read this book. So I'm just going to like drag that in, and it's in there, and you can see when it's planned. So if I click into this, you can see how many times of the day like I'm planning to do it. So let's say I'm going to spend 30 minutes reading it. Then you can see now it has 30 minutes. So you can easily visualize how much time you're dedicating to a project and make sure that you're having enough time to do it. So again, like today, I blocked out 2 hours to work on the podcast. And so you can see that there. And then from there, we can actually drag and drop these right onto here, onto your calendar to schedule. So let me say I do want to do it there. And again, it just bumps everything down so that there's no conflict, no two things. Because one of the big principles is that like you want to schedule your task in a realistic way. You don't want to like overbook yourself. You don't want to like have it so that you're going crazy. For example, if I set this to business and let's say it takes like 4 hours, all of a sudden you'll see the work gets yellow. Now let's make it 6 hours. Now it's red. The reason being is that they want you to set realistic time constraints to like how long something's going to take. And so that you know that you're not going to overbook yourself. You're not going to burn out. You're being more realistic because it's not about cramming more and doing more. It's about doing the right things. And I think that one of the things that Sunsama does so well is it helps you identify when you might be pushing yourself too much. Maybe you're scheduling too much on your calendar. So let's just leave it like this and I'll show you what happens. So we go to next and it says planned work time. So like ideally they're kind of like giving you these guidelines. 6 to 8 hours is kind of like a good thing to look for. And it says caution, unrealistic workload. Try not to plan more than 8 hours of work per day. And they have this really convenient thing, defer work to tomorrow. I can also drag and drop it to the other days if I want to, or even next week. But I'm going to automatically just click defer work to tomorrow automatically. And so they move my phone call with Bruce Wayne. And then all of a sudden, look, I only got 3.5 hours of work left. Isn't that great? So it just helps you stay realistic about how much time you can do things and so that you don't burn yourself out. And then finally is your plan for the day. So similar to this, they have this wrap up shutdown routine to help you kind of keep tabs of what you've done. Okay. And then so just now our Pomodoro timer finished the break. So it says back to work and we can say ready or in 5 minutes. We are ready because we are actually already doing it. So we'll just click ready. Oh, it's automatically started the next thing. We're not doing that. We're actually doing this one. So we're recording. And I already planned this episode, so we can check that off. And so you'll see it's counting up now. And so we're good here. Everything looks good. I'm going to add the shutdown to my calendar. It's right there. And then once you're ready, you can just say, looks good. And then it brings you to this daily planning where you can see an outline of what you have coming up for the day. And you can also write down any obstacles in the way, like I need to put my smartphone in the other room to stay focused. And once you're ready to go, you can either post it to Slack or Microsoft Teams, and you can customize this, refresh, skip this step in the future. So the daily planning ritual, write a brief outline of the day ahead, answer these questions. What am I working on today? Is anything blocking my work? What's my top priority? Share this right up in Slack. If you're on a team, this daily outline brings clarity. When you're done with it, you're ready to get to work. So I think we're ready to get to work. As you'll notice here, it actually will link to the actual task in ClickUp if that's something that you need to reference. However, I will say that with Sunsama, they do bring in a lot of the information from the individual tasks so that you can reference that. So if we click on Call Batman, you can see this is the ClickUp description. The checklist doesn't seem like it comes through too well, but overall, it's pretty good. You can actually reschedule it within Sunsama. So you don't even have to go to ClickUp to do that. You can just reschedule right in here, which is super convenient. So yeah, then you have your like overview of the different tasks that you have coming up, which is really, really nice to see, like a bird's eye view. You also have your calendar. They have a calendar view. So you have tasks and calendar. You can hit tab as a shortcut to switch between the two because I love shortcuts. And then it brings in your calendar events. Again, you can click and drag. And so like, as you notice, I moved that and then the tasks changed. So let me move it back. All of a sudden it's back. So it's really easy to reorder things. And it reflects that immediately. Let's say you're not a big fan of time blocking. You can just take off these times. And then what one of the methods that the founder of Sunsama says you can use is like a playlist method. So you can drag it into the order that you want to do it. That way, you have that feeling of autonomy and getting the things that you want to do in the order that you feel like your energy is best utilized. As you'll notice on the sidebar here, you can see the task completed. This is something that you can turn off if you want. I believe they added that feature, but to be honest, I think it's helpful because then you can see like the progress that you made throughout the day and kind of just be reminded to keep going. And you can see here that there's recurring tasks and I can click into this and edit it. Let's say there's one other thing I need to check, like a carrier pigeon that I get every day. And so I made this change and you'll see it's here, but not on the next day. And so to change that, we're going to say edit task series, and you've got a bunch of different options. But what we're going to do is we're going to update all incomplete instances to match this task. And now, starting today, let's do it there. And task series updated. We're going to close out of this. And now we've got carrier pigeon. And like as you go, you can check off these different subtasks. And you'll notice the progress bar updates. Got my carrier pigeon in. And then once you're ready, just hit check. And that one's checked off. And you'll see that it automatically moves to the bottom and is darkened out, so you can focus on what's left for the day. So what I think sets Sunsama apart from like other productivity apps, because a lot of apps nowadays, like they have some kind of planning feature. They have a way for you to write down your task and plan it out. So like that's very common. But I think what changes it apart is like the intentionality behind your time blocking, and it's very monofocus-centered. So instead of like having this view with like tons of things that you can do, like if you go to your project management software like Asana, ClickUp, it doesn't have like this user-friendly experience of like ordering your tasks and planning them out for the week like this is. And especially if you work with multiple teams that maybe have different project management tools, to be able to have one place to bring in all of these different to-dos into one place and have your objectives easily accessible, so you can stay focused and you can see how much time you're spending towards those objectives. It's super helpful. And you'll notice that there's this little purple dot that basically shows you that it's aligned with your objective. And so to set that, so this one doesn't have one. If I hit R, I can either set it to one of the ones I already have, or I can add this one to an objective. So let's say I wanted to do that. So now that's one of my objectives. So it's super easy to add that as well. It's also like very like peaceful experience using Sunsama. It isn't very busy. It's very minimalistic. It's very user-friendly, very intuitive to use. Things that I love about it. And then, so that I've showed you like the daily planning ritual. Let's also go through the shutdown ritual. So P is for planning, O is for shutdown. And so what that does, when you're ready to do the shutdown, you'll see how much time you worked. You planned 3 hours, how you spent your time. You can see the breakdown of the different channels, and then things that you didn't get to. Then we're going to click next, and then you can have a daily shutdown. You can say like what you did, and then you can wrap up once you're ready. And then it says done for the day. And you can actually like customize a message. You can have the daily encouragement. I like the daily encouragement. It's cool. And we'll close that out. So actually you could probably leave your screen at that if you're done for the day and just pick it up when you're ready. So that's what the daily planning is like. Let's quickly go to the weekly planning. So you have your last week. You can see what you worked on. You can see your objectives for this week. And so you can add anything. Maybe you had another thing like finished client project. Let's say that was a big objective. You just somehow forgot to add that one, and then put it under the process. And then you can see what you planned for the week, and then done. And then I think it's so important to also review the data. And so at the end of the week, they have this weekly review, which is super helpful. And so we're going to click next, and you can see a breakdown of where you spent your time. And maybe you realize you spent too much time on one task, or you didn't plan enough. Like maybe the updates I planned too much time for. Next time I could plan less time, or that's probably not a good example. Maybe more of those things that you plan on a regular basis, like edit podcast episode. I thought it was only going to take 1 hour and 30 minutes. But it really took 2 hours and 44 minutes. So things like that can be helpful to help you plan ahead in the future, so that you can take this data and actually take actionable steps with it. And it's just not like another thing that you have. And so it just helps you see visually how much time you spent on these various things, how much time you spent in a given day. And then next, and then you can see your weekly review, what you finished this week, and then wrap up. So super helpful. The cool thing is that it integrates so well with your calendar that it's so easy to bring in things to your calendar. So for example, if I go press tab to switch to the calendar view, let's say, I need to change my upstairs air filter. I'm going to add this to tasks. And then when I go to tasks, let's say I start this, must focus on today. I've never seen this. This is new. You can override it if you do it twice. That's what I found out right now. But they add this simple way for you to add notes during like a meeting. So you might have like action items. So then you can add the tasks, like maybe you're during a meeting and it's like, I need to make reservations at the fancy restaurant, because that's what every business meeting has. And so it automatically adds that action item. So like maybe you start out with a list, and then you can take those action items and add a task. Super helpful. Another neat feature is the analytics. So you see here that you can see a breakdown of your week. You can include weekends if you want. In total, if you want to break it down by the master kind of category, business, personal, you can do that. But yeah, I think that's like a good bird's eye view of like where you're spending your time. I would love for them to in the future incorporate maybe like a monthly view, a quarterly view. That way, like you get an even bigger bird's eye view than just on the week. Because I think that's how you can make more powerful decisions in your business for yourself. And then now that we've gone over the UI, UX, and the system behind this product, I think it's so important to talk about the pricing and see if this is a good fit for you. Again, if you want to try Sunsama, I do have the affiliate link to give you a 30-day free trial. As you can see here, typically they give you the 14-day free trial. And again, it looks like no credit card is required, so you can try it without providing any information or having that like auto renew that you have to cancel. So that's always nice to have. So let's go to the pricing to talk about that for a moment. So as you'll notice, this is not a cheap productivity app. Most other productivity apps that, you'll find in the Play Store, might be a couple bucks per month to free to a one-time fee and everywhere in between. However, Sunsama is a bit more expensive, but I think what you need to consider is your use case and whether or not it's going to help you stay more organized and more focused and get more done by having this monofocus and not getting stressed out. Because let's be real, productivity, like the tools in the end, it's not that important. Obviously, like I do love productivity tools and apps, but like at the end of the day, I think your underlying philosophy and like how it helps you stay organized and get things done matters so much more than the actual tool itself. And I do believe that Sunsama just has such a good philosophy behind it, and the method that they use for this is just really helpful for the modern worker and those trying to live a more focused and productive life, but not just like getting as much done, but like in a way that supports you and helps you live a healthier life. So as you'll see at the yearly subscription, you're going to be paying $16 per month. And what I would view it as is if you could save, let's say 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours in a week, I think the $16 per month would easily be justified. But if you prefer to pay monthly, that will be a little bit more at $20 per month, billed monthly. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like, again, my recommendation would be to use the affiliate link that I have in the description for a 30-day free trial. Test it out for yourself, learn the underlying philosophy, subscribe to their newsletter because they've got like awesome advice that they share on there. And again, like the philosophy, they even have a philosophy behind their pricing. So I think that this is just a good example of why they do what they do. People might not have the funds for this, and for you, like, maybe this isn't a good fit, but at the same time, maybe it's worth giving it a try. Maybe there is that value that you didn't realize that would be so helpful, and it's saving you time, which, for many of us, that is a form of currency, and actually more important than your money, because it's one of your most valuable resources. If you can stay more focused and on task, if this helps you do that, then I think it's definitely worth the price. And then lastly, who do I think Sunsama is for? I think it's for the person that wants to stay focused while being productive. They want to be more focused on the most important tasks. I think Sunsama has such a good system to help you do that. And I think just try it out for yourself. Give it a try, see if it works for you, and then go from there. I am a super fan of this app. I think it offers an awesome set of features as well as an underlying philosophy that can help you stay focused and energized on what truly matters. If you found value in this video, please smash that like button and hit subscribe. Would love to have you in the channel fam. And until next time, my friends, stay messy.